Welcome, fellow travelers. My name is Vyril, and I'm joining Chibi and Vertec at the Golden Feather. Come on in, grab a seat, and let's share tales of adventure.
But of course, the most important topic is our guest, Vyril.
Hello.
Yes, we are twinning.
We are twinning, yes. Absolutely.
Vyril, for those who don't know you, who are you? Where are you? And what do you do?
Well, I'm Vyril. Maybe back in the day, you may have known me as Enigma, probably 2012 and before, but I've been doing MMOs for about 30 years approximately. Started back with Neverwinter Nights and AOL in like 92. A little bit older, but yeah, I live out in Michigan. I hang out there, but for the most part, I've been a pretty big gamer all my life. And it's really just learning all the different aspects of MMOs and just enjoying them.
Yeah, that's fair.
Gamer all my life. That resonates with me.
Yeah, I know you're a big, or you played some Ultima Online yourself, so I think we have a lot in common there.
Yeah, that one had me hooked for quite a while. Yeah. So
yeah,
speaking of making content when the game comes out, when people are talking about all the different servers and such that might be sitting around, could you tell us anything about what kind of server you're looking to join? Are you looking to do one of the headstart ones or no? And
no, yeah, the headstart to me is probably going to be a dangerous type choice, because you're going to either go in there with people that, and if they choose to continue doing what they're going to do with just limits, no nodes, no progressions, just leveling, I still don't feel like a lot of people are going to come in later and decide, hey, let's join a server that's already established. I just feel like that's actually more of a recipe for disaster than success, really, with those type of servers. But really, I'm out for any choice. It's really going to be about maybe who, where, and how people are choosing to go with, the community that's really actually being established right now.
Okay, so that leads kind of into the question I was going to ask about you and your content. With not starting on a head start server, there might be a little bit more congestion at the very beginning. Do you think that'll interfere with whatever kind of content you're trying to make when game goes full launch?
Yeah, because really, and that's really one of the biggest debates is, are you on a 12-hour queue server and you're going to try to go with big dogs and with all the big guilds, or are you going to try to fit into somewhere you can play at your own time frame? And I would prefer to be able to play when I'm ready to play, and which is already going to be problematic for the most part with any server at launch. But really, I'm not looking to necessarily have to go in with a server that is just full blown 3 or 4 of the top guilds, 2,000-3,000 people in queue. You're looking at 5, 6, 10 hours. Yeah, so it's really going to be my avoidance initially.
Yeah, and what kind of content are you looking to make? What's your key content? I mean, and a lot of people are going to be making multiple different things, but what's like the one thing that you're going to kind of hook into your brand?
Most likely PvX related. It'll be doing anything in the world, raiding, normal grinding, gathering, but with the interaction of other players. Like a lot of the social, organic interactions. I don't necessarily need to do strictly PvP, and I don't necessarily have to do strictly PvE.
Okay. Now, what would you say is your the content you're looking to make most eagerly in that PvX area?
That's a good question. It's really probably just the success of somebody surviving in that world, because it really comes back to really when I used to play just any of the open sandboxes, Albion, UO, Star Wars Galaxies. When you're out in that world, you have that interaction, being successful, coming back with it, and what was that return of investment, that time that was spent doing it, and really just providing that outcome. It's really hard without having my hands on the game yet to see how I can produce that, but that's really what it's looking forward to.
Gotcha.
So what drew you to Ashes of Creation? Like why Ashes of Creation of all the things that are in development? You know, we have PAX Day, we have New World, numerous ones popping up. Why
Yeah.
Ashes?
Well, 2017, I saw Ashes on Kickstarter. I go, no, not going to do it. Not going to do it. I don't believe in Kickstarter. They have yet to succeed in anything but board games. And really, I just couldn't do it. About 2019, started looking back into it, started following a little bit more. Like, okay, it looks like there's about something come out. APOC came out. I'm like, here we go. This is a scam. What are we going on here? 2020 came out. A1 started producing some videos, started talking to some people that were in it. I'm like, oh, there is something. Wasn't super impressed with the visuals, but I don't always care about visuals. I was really love the open world. I love the PvX. I love PvP. I love really just MMOs in general. The social, the interactions, anything that when you come to an MMO, what you expect. Not a lobby, WoW, modern WoW. So those things really started to shine with what they talked about and what they started showing. So that's really what had me hyped up in around 2020, 2019.
So actually, this is a great question since you brought up MMORPGs. What made you get into MMORPGs versus any other type of game?
Well, I was 6 years old. I have a 12-year-older brother, and so I was 6. He was 18. He had D&D. His monster manual used to just hang out on the table all the time. He used to just flip through it and just be like, "Oh my gosh, these monsters cool!" And my child brain just used to go, "Okay, I'm going to go outside and pretend I'm killing a monster." And then initially would go kind of into some of the other games and became older, about 11 or 12, like Ultima 7. Like I said, to some of the advanced Dungeons & Dragons gold box editions. And then I just started to see Meridian 95 or 59 come out, got into that. And then just Ultima Online just kept me in this fantasy world. And then just that interaction, I couldn't let it go. And I played shooters and everything since then, but really just MMOs and the dynamicness of the game is just where I'd love to be.
Yeah, I would say D&D got me into MMOs as well, because I had been a DM for Pathfinder and D&D previously, and then I got to try something like World of Warcraft, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool! I get to actually like be the character in a world, and I don't have to like sit there and spend 5 hours going through one campaign, like not even a full dungeon, a part of a dungeon for 5 hours. And then I got into raiding. So my next question is, what is your favorite part of playing an MMO?
It's all aspects because as you're saying, raiding, PvP, exploring, they all have a place for me in a time. If I talk probably the longest time I spent in a game was probably WoW for about 4 years. It started off as an adventure with a buddy. Then we got into PvP, had the official PvP. Then we ended up doing a Grand Marshal grind, the initial Grand Marshal grind. And they're like, well, let's do the next part, which was raiding. We went from a small guild of nobody to full blown second best in the server, full rating for pretty much up to Wrath of Lich King. But those points were just all important as we did the whole exploration through WoW. But through every other game, we're mostly sandbox. Those progression isn't the same. It's everything all the time. But with that type of theme park, that was all great. But everything else, every piece has its place, and it's all fun at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the MMO life in something like a sand park it's a totally different feeling. Totally different feeling. It feels more alive, rather than just, if you're not at the points of action, then nothing's going on. Like a theme park is. If you're not at the newest city or you're not at the newest raid, then it feels kind of vacant.
Yeah. I had a lot of friends initially that never played an MMO, and I used to tell them about the glory days of sandboxes, Ultima Online, Star Wars Galaxies, Anarchy Online, and they just didn't understand. They're like, oh, it's, the same thing as WoW, right? I'm like, no, not really. So when I talk ashes to the same people, they're like, I'm making the comparison. So hopefully when they get to experience that, they'll experience that sand park, sandbox.
And welcome in, Lloyd. Thank you so much for the raid. Thank you. And welcome in, Raiders. Glad to have you at the tavern. Pull up a chair. Join the conversation.
Yeah, we are meeting Vyril this week, and we'll be talking about Summoner and a few other game systems. So very excited for that. PVX aside, I am. I have your favorite item, and I'm going to drop it into Magma if you don't choose one game system in Ashes to be your favorite. Try to be nice about it at the same time. I'm sorry.
The penalty is lava. The penalty is lava.
That's super tough. I really like everything pretty equally because I just want to experience it all. We'll say a good PvE dungeon, either a grind spot or starting at the top and completing it to the end. That in general, regardless if there is some other content around it, I love PvP, don't get me wrong, but I think content when you're progressing through a dungeon is pretty significantly fun. It just really is.
You saw the AMA with Steven, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So then would you say that you're excited based off of what he talked about with Carphin, that you're excited for Carphin?
So I begged Nice to ask that question. But excuse me, I'm glad he did. I am concerned that the numbers he says doesn't look like that's what will fit in there. It was 160 to 192 players at that point. I would love it to be that way. I want to be able to bump shoulders with another group. That's like that friction, that PVX, where I want to be able to go in there with my group, my 8-man team. We're efficient. The boss spawns and we need to battle it out or whatever the case may be, even work together, right? That social interaction. But yeah, I hope it's as big as he's projecting it to be, and I am looking forward to it a lot. Even the open world one, but Carphin particularly because it's supposed to have that progression of gear, and hopefully with the story arcs as well, that it's possibly as the story arc goes higher, that we'll see even better rewards as it gets higher.
Yeah. And Synderek says favorite spots to grind can be big on this nostalgia. I still have a few favorite zones from EQ, and I haven't played in years. Gandalf Shalom says in Lineage 2, working together had lots of friction. Hoopa says EQ1 capping a spot was amazing fun, especially on the PvP servers. And then Gandalf was saying it was typically more. This is my floor, even when I soloed. Anyone else see the resemblance of Vyril and Vertec?
Calling out my long lost brother.
But I was actually going to say, that's one of the things that I was talking with Rory about today. He was live playing EQ2 and he was talking about, basically like having to sit on the side while the tank grabbed all the mobs that they wanted to like take down and then wait for them to respawn. While they're waiting for them to respawn, that's when they like get their mana back up, etc. And so a part of me was wondering if maybe that's what Steven was like thinking of or imagining while he was talking about, the different groups in Carphin trying to share a floor and like you took my mob and things like that. I'm not really familiar with that myself in general. So I just thought that was an interesting thing for him to have said. Yes, and Dark says, I never played on a PvP server, but getting trained to clear you out of a camp was interesting times.
Yeah, that's something I was going to say. At EQ, you would be sitting there resting, and all of a sudden there's 20 skeletons coming at you, and you either run or die. And
yeah.
Yeah, I only played EQ1 for a quick minute. I think at the time I was still hooked on. I think I was actually still hooked on Ultima Online at that time.
Yeah.
I don't think I felt like doing the jump over to EQ.
Yeah. It was actually really interesting hearing like the like story of traveling between different MMOs, you know, being an EQ, and then World of Warcraft vanilla came out, and then, you know, like hearing the rumors of that and like not really being interested initially, and then trying it out after EQ2 came out, and then being like really into it. I think that that's really interesting because like that's something I never experienced. I actually started my entire MMO journey on World of Warcraft. So for me, it was just always World of Warcraft. But I think it's an interesting experience, and there's a lot of different game systems and things like that each game does differently. And I think it's really exciting to see those things kind of get cherry picked and you know, pulled together into a new type of game.